Look out, something is going to get you tonight. Let's talk about the thing that's going to get you tonight. Welcome to the Happy Harvest Horror Show.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Corrie.
And I'm Brian, and this is the Happy Harvest Horror Show.
That's what it is! Happy Harvest Horror Show.
Where we talk about everything spooky, creepy, uncanny, Halloween, Halloween adjacent, fall, autumn, leave, synonym.
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin. We got it all, so welcome.
Welcome. Happy to have you here. Brian!
Hi!
How spooky has your week been?
Oh, it's been pretty spooky. I've got some stuff I can talk about. This week, I mentioned in our introductory episode that I am a big fan of horror soundtracks, and I collect them. And I've got a couple that came out this week, or at least the pre-order did. There's this great company in New Orleans called Waxwork Records, and they do really great remasters and reissues of horror soundtracks on vinyl. And this week they came out with new issues of The Fog and Escape from New York, both John Carpenter movies, who did Halloween, if you're uninitiated in John Carpenter. And the art is so cool. It looks so great. So that's been kind of on my mind. I'm very excited. I can't wait to get my hands on these and listen to them. And I also found, you thought we might think this is interesting. There was also this super niche release of a company, it was Cadabra Records, and they did a Wicker Man audio play production. So it's the 70s Wicker Man movie, but they've done an audio play performance of it, and they're pressing it onto vinyl, and there was only 50 issues, and I was like, this is way too niche of a thing for me to not get. And and I don't imagine I'm going to be listening to this a lot more than, it's still a radio play, but I think it's going to be really cool and really fun because that movie is pretty scary.
Yeah, that's intriguing.
Yeah. It's very folk horror. If anyone liked Midsummer, it owes a lot to The Wicker Man, that movie.
I still haven't seen Midsummer, which is absurd. It's absurd that I haven't seen it.
It's good. I think you'd like it.
I know a lot of people have said that to me, and I think I would too, but I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid to watch Midsummer.
I don't think you should be. I've had multiple conversations about this movie that I thought it was just I felt great leaving the theater because it's such it's such a cathartic release.
You felt rejuvenated after Midsummer.
That was an exorcism of a lot of feelings, and I feel great. That being said, it is not always pleasant to look at, but that's horror.
I also, fear is when you're afraid of something, it makes it so much more worse. I should probably just watch it because in my head, it's probably a lot worse
than you think. Yeah, than it actually is. Yeah. Did you see his first movie, Ari's Hereditary?
No.
I think that's a lot scarier than this one.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens.
We are both sides of the Happy Harvest Horror Show. You got the Happy Harvest, and I'm the horror show.
Yeah, for real. Kind of though. We've talked about this before. I love scary movies. I don't like torture-y things. That's my weird. I love one of my favorite movies is The Witch. I fucking love that movie.
Top 10 so for sure. Good. It's so good.
And it's dark as hell. So I like dark, but I have a very clear line where it's a dark that I like and a dark that I don't like. And
we've had this conversation too, probably in Salem when we had that Salem trip.
Oh,
I think we talked about this where I kind of perceive it as just kind of a taste sort of thing where if you got the palate for it.
Yeah. And I also appreciate and very much enjoy campier horror movies. I love Scream. I love the Scream franchise.
Did you see Scream 5 has been teased?
No.
Courtney Cox, David Arquette, they're all coming back. Way. Yeah, January 2022. They're on Instagram or Twitter. Any social media. They've now just did this little tease of just the mask, the ghost face mask.
Oh my God, that's exciting.
Can't wait. Love Scream. It's a little sad that Wes Craven is not doing it because sadly he passed a few years ago. But I'm happy that the movies still keep going.
Yeah, that's what we need. We need another Scream.
Oh God, we sure
need
do.
that in the world right now.
It'd be fascinating to see how they do it too, because Scream kind of, what's so beautiful about it is it's a horror movie while also deconstructing horror movies. And each one, you know, like the first one was just horror movies. 4, they were deconstructing horror reboots because that's what horror was kind of doing then. And so I wonder what the 5th one will be.
Yeah.
Kind of deconstructing.
I remember, I haven't watched it in a long time, but I remember actually being really happy with the 4th, like, final movie. I was like, you know, I'm a stickler for like an ending. And I thought I remember it kind of wrapping things up really nicely. But then again, it's been a long time since I've watched them.
I think a Scream marathon is definitely in my future this week.
Yes. So good. And also a Scream franchise episode, I think, is in the future.
That'd be a great episode.
At some point. Speaking of horror films, yesterday I was actually working on a project for Art History Babes, my other podcast content creation platform.
Yeah.
I'm working on our first TikTok video. We opened a TikTok account.
Oh no.
And I'm doing and I ran a poll on Instagram, and our listeners want this like really bad. I'm doing a video where I do a art historical analysis of research montages in the Twilight series.
Gosh.
And so I was working on the research for that.
Talk about zooming in to the max of like such a specific thing.
I know. So I was working on the research for that, and there's one image in the first movie, and it's a play on classic vampire movies, right? And it's like the black and white, very classic scene of like a vampire about to bite a woman who is like laid out across like a bed or a couch, you know? And I was like, okay, I want to find out where this image came from, art historical brain. And so I started looking into images of like a similar setup from classic horror movies, which brought me to just a list of classic horror movies, which brought me to realizing I had never seen Nosferatu. So I watched Nosferatu yesterday.
What'd you think?
I mean, it was fun. Like, classic silent movies are interesting and just always kind of a different experience, you know, when you're just like kind of listening to the organ music for like an hour and a half. And like, I definitely had fun. I'm definitely just, you know, I'm a very visual person. I'm a very image-based person. So I had a lot of fun, like screenshotting and like finding really cool shots and like cool things that the director did with it and stuff. So it kind of became more of like a creative viewing of it.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was good. It was fun. I did go into a little bit of the history, though. I started researching Nosferatu a little bit. You guys are getting a really solid understanding of how my brain works on a daily basis. This is just these are just the holes
Deep
I go down
the rabbit hole.
Yeah. But then I started researching Nosferatu a little bit. So found some really just interesting information about like the making of the film, but also found out that it's like anti-Semitic. So that's a bummer. That sucks a lot. But yeah. So that kind of tarnished the whole the whole experience a little bit for me.
It is definitely a book, or not a book, a movie of a different time. But
yeah.
I think what's really fascinating there's a lot of things fascinating about that movie. It's, you know, early German expressionism. It's also one of the kind of the pioneers of modern horror, that movie, which I mentioned in Spooky Corner. This is a really great book called Wasteland, which makes this correlation between the Great War, World War I, and tying it to origins of modern horror movies. And with this movie, Nosferatu, when troops were coming back from the war, comedies and romances weren't selling, people weren't going, but suddenly Nosferatu came out and everyone went out and saw Nosferatu.
That makes sense.
Because suddenly these comedies don't look like what life is as you see it anymore, but Nosferatu does, which is fascinating. And also Nosferatu, they wanted to do Dracula, but they couldn't get the rights. So
it basically is Dracula.
It's Dracula. Yeah.
It is the story of Dracula. Like there was a whole legal battle about it, which interestingly is why you can't find just like one straight cut of the movie. Like there's multiple versions and they all have different slides for what's the word I'm looking for? Like the word slides, like the slides that have the words on them.
Title cards.
Yeah, the title cards. There we go. The title cards change both in style and in the actual wording, because like there was this whole legal battle over the film, and then the original got destroyed or something. But there had been I don't remember exactly what happened, but it had been retrieved, and then like people had to kind of piece it back together, and like so there are all these different versions that look a little different.
It's a hell of a movie. You should go check it out.
Yep. So that was my big spooky thing. I also watched this little series of shorts that are on Hulu called The House. Have you watched this?
No, I don't think I have. I don't think I've even heard of it.
I mean, it's fun. It's like, I think it's rated like TV-14. So it's definitely spooky, but it's not like super, super dark, but it's dark. And it's just a series of like 7 shorts, like 7-minute videos. Actually, a couple of them are only like 3 minutes. And so altogether it's under an hour to watch the whole thing. And in terms of like criticism, like it's kind of choppy, the storytelling, but the whole idea is, one, it's an homage to just horror in general, like the horror genre. Each little short is kind of focused on a different horror trope, and then the storyline is basically like this haunted house, like demonic house, whatever, this house that was built from the wood of the tree of knowledge of good and evil is the concept. Yeah. So it goes like into the future, and then it goes into the past. They're trying to do a lot with like very little time.
It looks cool though. I just while you're talking about it, I looked it up and I found it. The House, a Hulu Halloween anthology. And
it's totally worth watching.
On my list now. Yep.
I had fun. Like it was literally like it was like a few days ago, and I was like really stressed out, and I had gotten to bed with some like chamomile tea and watched this like cute little horror thing.
I love it.
Yeah,
yes.
It's good. It's worth watching.
All right. Well, I'm going to check that out for sure.
Yeah. Oh, we should probably share our story.
Oh, yeah. Which leads into our topic of the day.
Exactly. So Brian and I had a very same wavelength moment. I'll start with my side. So last week I woke up and I just like had an urge to go get coffee, like go get myself a latte, which I like do not do anymore at all. Very rarely. I typically just make coffee at home, but it's been a really, really long time, like a couple of months since I've gone to Starbucks or gone to a coffee shop and got a latte. But I just like woke up and I was like, I really want an iced latte. I want some espresso and I'm going to treat myself. That was my plan for the day. And then I had this like moment while I was getting ready to like go. I was like, oh, I wonder if the PSL is out yet. Like, I wonder if pumpkin spice latte is out. And then so I Googled it and it came out that day. It came out last Tuesday, August 25th. And so I went and I got my pumpkin spice latte, iced because it's still kind of hot. And it was wonderful. And then later, like a day later, I talked to Brian and
I had a very similar experience, except mine was a little more, even more specific. I remember waking up that morning, looking at my girlfriend and saying, I think the pumpkin spice latte might be out soon. Like verbatim said that. Got on my phone, Googled, and saw, it came out today. And so we got in the car, went and got it. Oh, I think we actually, instead of the latte, we got the pumpkin spice cold brew. Have you gotten that one yet?
I want to try that.
That came out just, I think, last year. I think it's really new, but I think it's so good. It's just the pumpkin spices in the cream instead of the coffee. So it's just this like, But yeah, we were sharing these stories of both at the same time, right when they came out. The collective consciousness in the universe was like, pumpkin spice is out. Get out there.
Yeah, literally. Like it literally like woke us up. Like we were tapped in to the pumpkin spice vibration and it literally
I could feel
like,
it.
Woke us up.
Gave into it. Gave my body over to the pumpkin spice.
Oh man, so good, so good. Yeah, which led us to listen, to the universe's calling, and now we're recording an episode on the PSL, on pumpkin spice, on everyone's favorite autumnal flavor,
the pumpkin spice latte, and pumpkin spice and everything nice.
Yes.
So we'll kind of go into, we're going to do a little deep dive. And I know our Happy Harvest Horror Show, it's everything Halloween adjacent. So even though this isn't very spooky, it is definitely Halloween adjacent. This comes one time a year and it's now. So buckle up.
I mean, I feel like there are lots of places that just kind of really extend the pumpkin spice flavor, or I've definitely been in some
for sure
mom and pop coffee shops that just like always have it, and which I do appreciate because I also am that person who like randomly in like May is like I need something pumpkin spice today.
I mean, I live that Halloween is everyday life, and I think pumpkin should just be around year round. I don't think there's any reason it shouldn't be. But we'll talk about why it's only available now. And there is a big financial incentive to having it only right now.
Let's start with the history of just the PSL, pumpkin spice latte. Okay. So bustle.com did a whole story on the history of the PSL.
Oh, yeah. This is what I looked at too. This was a good article.
It was a very good article. It's particular to the Starbucks origins. The article is by Lucia Peters and Mia Mercado. It's a good article. And first and foremost, like obviously Starbucks isn't the CEO of Starbucks isn't the first person to put coffee and pumpkin together. However, the popularity of the pumpkin spice latte is largely due to Starbucks. There is a very clear connection.
Yep.
I was actually surprised by this. Starbucks started selling the PSL in 2003.
Yeah, that seems pretty recent, right?
I don't know. I thought it was later.
I kind of feel like it's been around forever. It's been so ingrained at this time of year. This is when you get the pumpkin stuff that in my 30 years on this earth, it's hard to remember a time we didn't have it.
See, I feel you there. I definitely have always felt pumpkin spice this year, but the actual pumpkin spice latte, I don't remember. I don't know. I don't feel like I remember them really being a thing like back when I was in high school. I felt like it was more of like a college thing when I was.
Well, definitely more of a college thing because I think we were drinking a lot more coffee at that time. But
that's fair.
But yeah, in 2003 is when it started and it started in 2003 because of the success of the previous holiday season where they introduced the peppermint mocha. And that was an experiment of doing a seasonal drink available just at a certain time of year. And it was a huge hit and it continues to be a hit. Peppermint mochas, I love those.
Oh yeah, they're good.
And the next year they were like, let's do a little research. Let's try to figure out what's the next seasonal cash grab we can make. And they hunkered down in what they call the Liquid Lab, which is on the 7th floor in the Seattle Starbucks headquarters. And they started.
I love that it's like this top secret room and it sounds like a super trendy mixology style bar, the Liquid Lab.
I bet it is. I bet it's so high security there. It's like Mission Impossible trying to figure out what the next
flavor is going to
be is. So in this headquarters, during the year leading up to the fall season of 2003, they started surveying customers with potential recipes, and they had a list of about 20 recipes, and pumpkin spice was amongst them. Most of the rest of the list was a lot of caramel and chocolate recipes.
Yeah, and it actually didn't do very well in the survey. No. The concept of a pumpkin pie latte, people weren't stoked on.
They just didn't get it.
But somehow it still made it to the mock-up tasting stage to where, it actually, they decided to try it out anyway, even though it didn't do well in the survey.
Yeah, it said that they had 4 options that they introduced. It was down to like 3, and the testers were like, I don't know, there's something about this very specific high flavor, drink. Let's put this in here anyway.
Yeah, and then there's a story according to Starbucks company lore.
I love that Starbucks lore and the grimoire that is of Starbucks.
That apparently researchers actually sat around and ate pumpkin pie and drank espresso to find that perfect mix of flavors, which makes perfect sense to me. I mean, that's probably what I would do too, to find out what actually works together. And they came to realize one of the key components is to use a pumpkin sauce, not a pumpkin syrup. And I, for one, feel like I should weigh in because I spent many, 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 many early mornings and afternoons and evenings baristaing in several different coffee shops. Like, I don't even know how many coffee shops I've worked at. Like 5, I think. 5 or 6. And through college, I did in grad school. I even was like working as a barista for a while last year. Like, it seems to follow me. But this is huge. The pumpkin syrups that are just like sugary syrup, it does not work. It does not taste good with the coffee flavor, in my opinion. Like, it tastes very synthetic. It doesn't have that same delicious, cozy flavor that you're looking for. But pumpkin sauce is heavier. It's creamier. It just works better with the kind of bitterness of espresso. And it creates just like this cozier feeling, the feeling that the latte was trying to incite within us, right? Of like being all cozy and bundled up with like a piece of pumpkin pie and like a cup of coffee. Yeah. That was the idea.
And even furthermore, they had high levels of this flavors, right? They have both the pumpkin and the other spices. And so to try to replicate that feeling of having a mouthful of pumpkin pie. So to people who think it's a flavor explosion, that is by design.
Oh, yes, definitely. Also, I actually haven't done this, but I've seen like YouTube videos and I don't know, probably on like Pinterest and shit. People that have made recipes to make your own more natural whole foods type sauce mixture to do your own pumpkin spice latte, where you can use actual pumpkin and like literally make it like a pumpkin pie in your mouth. Like a
pumpkin pie in your mouth. And I think you just stumbled on a really fun fact too, that from 2003 to 2015, this pumpkin spice latte recipe did not include any pumpkin. There's a lot of spices, but no pumpkin. That changed in 2015 to the present, where they have now added pumpkin puree to that delicious cup of heaven. That everyone universally agrees is a delicious cup of heaven. There's no debate.
There's no one disagrees. I actually saw this tweet the other day that was like, can we all just let people have their pumpkin spice flavor this year?
Yes, thank you.
It's like, it's 2020. Let people have their autumnal flavor. Just let people have it.
I don't know if you ran into this in the research, but I certainly did. I read all these articles, all written by these historians of the pumpkin spice latte, with their nose pointed sky high, like just having so much judgment over, oh, this craze. Oh, when will it end? Is it finally going away? Blah, pumpkin spice. I'm like, geez, it's flavor. People like it. Like,
let people like, and it really is such a just like an innocent joy. Like, it really does just bring people joy in a very kind of silly way. Like, why is that a problem? You know?
Yeah.
Come on. Just, let people have their autumnal flavor. It's fine. It's fine. It's not hurting you. It's okay.
it's helping you. That cup of sugar is...
Speaking of that cup of sugar, before it was known as the pumpkin spice latte or hashtag PSL, was almost called the fall harvest latte.
Which is a fun name, but the fuck does that tell you about the drink, you know?
Not a goddamn thing.
Not a goddamn thing. So it's now called the pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like that name, I'm like, oh, that sounds cozy. That sounds nice. But you still have no idea.
But the first thing you would ask is like, okay, so what's in it though?
Yeah, what's it taste like? Like what? Yeah, exactly.
And to a mercy of every barista everywhere, they changed the name.
Yes, yes. Also, a fun thing I found that if you didn't know, the PSL has an Instagram and a Twitter account
with tens of thousands of followers, even though they haven't tweeted since 2018.
Yeah, the Instagram hasn't been updated in a long time either. But what I found particularly interesting is that they are verified accounts, which is like, how the fuck do you verify a beverage? Like, I don't understand.
You just drink it. It's real. It's right there. It's verified. Checks out. Looks good. PSL. Keep it up, man. Doing great.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, Starbucks definitely helped make the pumpkin spice latte like the sensation what it is today. I would not credit them with like all pumpkin flavored things by any means, but they did very much make the pumpkin spice latte into what it is today. And Starbucks has made an estimated $1.4 billion off of the pumpkin spice latte.
That's a lot of money.
That's a crazy amount of money.
So much money. And you're right, they did not create pumpkin flavoring at all. But we have pumpkin. Starbucks
invented pumpkin.
In that liquid lab, we're like, we need something. Maybe a different gourd. Something that maybe we could use for jack-o'-lanterns too. I don't know. Even though they did not create the flavor, I think it's not hyperbolic to say that they should be given credit for the craze of this fall times, like limited time pumpkin offerings of products though, right? That this, I think probably the Trader Joe's pumpkin everything, you have pumpkin cleaning supplies now, you have pumpkin, but they're only available for this time of year. And it's probably no mistake that it's because Starbucks has made $1.4 billion off of this. Since
exactly. I mean, it's exactly like it's late capitalism doing what late capitalism does, right? Like that's exactly what's going on here. And with that, I do want to just a friendly reminder, Starbucks doesn't really need your money.
Hell no. There's so many other pumpkin flavored coffee drinks.
Yeah. And also most locally owned coffee shops, they jump on the trend this time of year. They have a pumpkin spice latte. And especially like that trend, that trendy coffee shop down the block or whatever, they're probably going to have a better pumpkin spice latte.
Oh, I bet they are. Yeah.
So, try and buy local when you can. Try and help out those local businesses, and also just try different pumpkin spice lattes because they do taste a little different and have different mixtures and things. And it's also, you can, as I mentioned before, you can also just get creative and try and make your own at home. Like that's a fun creative project.
You sure can. All it takes
seasonal
is just
activity.
The right combination of cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, ginger, cloves, and however much pumpkin you want to put in it.
There you go. There you go. Be your own barista.
Do it yourself.
DIY.
So that's the Starbucks history of it. What if we go back a little further?
We can go back
a little further. I'm kind of going spice trade back. Because that's where you're really going to find the inception of the real spices that make up a pumpkin spice.
Yes. History.com actually did a little article on the history of the pumpkin spice. And they traced it back to ancient pottery shards in Indonesia. Mm-hmm. Which is, to be fair, is not fully pumpkin spice. There was not this
no, it was just nutmeg.
Yes, it was a key ingredient to pumpkin spice, which is nutmeg. And nutmeg can be traced back approximately 3,500 years. Also, just a reminder to y'all out there, make sure when you're like doing internet research that you do, even if it is just kind of fun, silly stuff like this, that you do a little bit of fact checking, because I had that history article and then I also found another article that was kind of a lot of the same information, and it was like on a blog, and it was a very nicely written article, but they put that it was 35,000 years old.
That's a difference.
That's 3,500 versus 35,000, very different. but also like
since the dawn of man,
Yeah.
we have been following in the wake of pumpkin.
Yeah, we have had pumpkin spice since the dawn of man. Yeah, so I mean, I don't know. Fact checking's good, but also like time isn't real, so like whatever, do what you want. But I just wanted to
Whatever. Yeah.
I just want to put that out there. Like, I think always double checking your sources is good. It's a good thing to do, good habit to be in. So yeah, 3,500 years, Nutmeg, Indonesia. That's where we were.
Yep, and specifically these islands which are now in Indonesia, the Banda Islands, where they found the ceramic pottery with the residue on them, and these would be shipped to Asia, and which would be sold to the Middle East and North Africa, and from there they would transport to Europe, which really wanted this stuff.
Really wanted it.
You get the spice trade, and so by the 1300s. Fast forward not from the dawn of man, a little more recent. the tariffs on trade were so high that at one point, a pound of nutmeg in Europe cost 7 fattened oxen. It was more valuable than the commodity.
And don't be giving me those skinny oxen either. They got to be
fattened oxen. Like 7 big old oxen is worth a pound of nutmeg. That's a lot.
That is a lot. The spice trade's interesting. I'm not going to claim that I've done a ton of research on it, but yeah, just like flavor, man, the things people will do for flavor, you know?
Yeah, and that's why you read in these articles that people are like, it's pumpkin spice latte. I'm like, back then, this was everything.
I know. I am not trading my 7 fattened oxen for a PSL, okay?
I'm spending maybe just a little more than I would usually spend on a coffee, but I'm not giving away my like savings here. Like, so calm down. Let me just enjoy this. Oh man. Did you find any more that you wanted to add?
I was just going to say, also interesting, just also speaks to the desire for spices. Interestingly, the Dutch traded the island of, currently Manhattan, at one point New Amsterdam. They traded the island of Manhattan to Britain in exchange for Pulau Run, which was an island, a nutmeg-producing Banda Island, over which Britain claimed control. So we're talking colonialism here, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Like hella colonialism. But yeah, so the Dutch traded Manhattan for this small nutmeg-producing island.
Which I think is worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I did a little more, like you said, with the 35,000 too. I looked at a few more articles too. And obviously it wasn't solely for this island that made nutmeg. There were some other things going on around this time.
Yeah.
That was definitely part of it. That was part of the trade of giving up New Amsterdam to Britain. They got this nutmeg island, which is now Indonesia. And from there, I found that the earliest mention of pumpkin spice, so not just nutmeg, combination of all of them to make pumpkin spice, was published in the New York Post in 1936 for pumpkin spice cakes.
Delicious.
And up until the 1950s, recipes like that one actually did contain pumpkin. Not like these frauds like 2003 to 2015 Starbucks. But that did change when big spice companies like McCormick began packaging the blend and selling it as pumpkin pie spice, and then shortened to pumpkin spice in the 60s.
Yes, and pumpkin pie spice is good stuff just to have on hand. I love just sprinkling it on different things. Get a little, like on some yogurt.
On some pizza.
Exactly.
Some Alfredo.
pumpkin spice chicken Alfredo.
People would really lose their minds if that started being normalized.
I don't know.
Maybe it's good. I don't know.
Exactly. Because I mean, when you really think maybe not like pumpkins, well, I don't know, maybe because I've definitely had some pumpkin dishes. One of my favorites, this is like one of my most upscale dining experiences of all time. But I went to a restaurant in Napa that was like a Michelin star rated restaurant. I know I was being bougie as fuck.
La-ti-da.
I know. I know. And this was quite a few years back, like 5 years ago. And it was in the fall, and I had a pumpkin risotto, and it was served in a mini pumpkin. Like
that sounds so good.
It was delicious. So like,
I'd spend a lot of money for that, probably.
I think that's part of also why people love pumpkin and its versatility, is because like you can use it as this dessert, like pumpkin spice, add sugar, this like desserty sweet flavor. But also, pumpkin it's a vegetable. It's a gourd. Like,
did you know?
Were you aware? So the ways to use pumpkin in cooking, like, I am no chef by any means, but like you can get really creative with it, and people love it. People
use
love
that
it.
whole pumpkin too. We could do a whole episode on what to do with your pumpkin. I could spend hours on that. But another thing, if you're eating the pumpkin, after you're clearing that pumpkin out for jack-o'-lanterns, throw all those seeds in the oven and salt them down.
Pumpkin seeds. Yes. And pumpkin seeds are definitely one of those things for me that definitely remind me of like childhood, like making the pumpkin seeds, roasting them after doing jack-o'-lanterns. But in recent years, people get super creative with the different ways you can roast pumpkin seeds or the different flavors you can play with. And there are just so many ways to literally spice up your pumpkin seeds. So,
which it's funny you mentioned, because Trader Joe's, I found out a few years ago and have been enjoying it since, offers a pumpkin spiced pumpkin seed bag, which just rips a hole in the time-space continuum. You go through a wormhole eating them, but they're delicious.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. That sounds great. I did one time, a batch that was like, what was it? Honey cinnamon, maybe, that was really good.
Ooh.
Yeah, honey cinnamon pumpkin seeds. Those delicious. You get creative, you cooks out there. There's so many things to do with the pumpkin that, as we know, was invented by Starbucks in the lab.
in the liquid lab.
So, other favorites, other pumpkin flavored goodies. What do you got?
I definitely those pumpkin spiced pumpkin seeds. I will go to bat for them. I would eat them by the handful. Let's see. If we're thinking about other pumpkin coffee drinks, I'm going to throw a shout out to a small coffee company, not big coffee. Get out of here, Starbucks. There is a really cool company called Dead Sled Coffee. They're in New Jersey, and you can buy their coffee online. And they have a line of kind of classic horror blends, collaborations. And there's one called the Vincent Price Pumpkin Spice that you can buy year round. And it's so good. Like, the coffee is infused in the beans. It's not like kind of a coated flavor that you sometimes get on pumpkin coffees. And that's usually what I go to in the morning. Yeah, definitely shout out to that. Especially if you are not a fan of the PCL because you can't taste enough coffee, which makes sense because that is by design. They over flavor that thing. And you'd want more of a coffee flavor, definitely check out Vincent Price Pumpkin Spice. Pumpkin beers. I love pumpkin beers.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
Do you have a favorite pumpkin beer?
I don't know that I have a favorite. I'm pretty much like, because that's also the thing is, like, I feel like with pumpkin beer, most places this time of year, you'll go places and they might have like one pumpkin beer, and like I'm just happy to have it, I'm just like happy with whatever they have. But I do remember when we were in Salem last year, they had like so many pumpkin beers. Like, there were so many.
There were so many. It was so good. Didn't you get like a pumpkin like White Russian too?
Yeah, it's my favorite thing. It's so good.
I wanted to throw up, but you loved it.
It's so good. I do enjoy White Russians just as is. But so if you are a fan of the White Russian, I mean, it's basically an cold alcoholic PSL is what it is. Because like a White Russian is vodka, cream, Kahlua. So
That's where it loses me. I feel like milk and vodka, I'm already like...
Well, it's not like it's like a ton of cream, but like, yeah, it's vodka, Kahlua with some cream. That's a White Russian. But what they do for the pumpkin White Russians is they add pumpkin liqueur. It still has a little bit of a coffee flavor, and then it has the pumpkin liqueur, which I also really enjoy. I have pumpkin liqueur right now. That stuff's also very sweet and very heavy. So like you can just drink it on the rocks, but it's kind of a lot. So I think it's a lot better in mixed drinks.
Definitely.
So yeah, pumpkin White Russian for sure.
I like it. New Belgium has a pumpkin beer called Pump Kick that ever since college, that's been my kind of go-to because it's got a nice pumpkin allspice kind of flavor, but also it's got cranberry in it. So it's got this kind of,
that's
it's
fun.
great. I think it's so good. There's something about that flavor that's really good. But if you're mentioning liqueurs, this is again the shout out to another place. But there's one in LA and in New York. There's a place called the Beetle House, which is a bar that I think I took you to. Did we go to the Beetle House?
Yeah, we totally did.
It's a Tim Burton themed bar, and they have a drink. Yeah, they have a drink called This Is Halloween, which is a mixture of Fireball, sour apple, pumpkin liqueur, and apple cider that I just could drink by the gallon.
Fireball, fuck.
And every time I introduced it to people, that's the first thing they say. They taste it and go, "That's Fireball," and I'm like, "Yeah, but
Fireball is just one of those alcohols that like." And I feel like this is a pretty universal experience. Like it brings everyone to a very specific time and place. like Fireball.
And if it wasn't too destructive, you can still do it.
Exactly. But except that it's usually destructive. It was usually a pretty destructive memory.
Well, I came out the other side alive and ready. And so I'm ready for that. This is Halloween drink.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. Let's see. I'm trying to think of other just go-to pumpkin favorites. I mean, I am that like I'll try pumpkin spice just about anything. I do like some of the like pumpkin spice cereals, like Kellogg's does a pumpkin spice type Special K type thing, and I like that because that's like it's not too synthetic. Like that's the thing with these kinds of flavors. Like sometimes they can get really synthetic. Speaking of, I've never had them, but I know that they've done pumpkin spice Twinkies. I know that exists.
I would try that for sure. I also saw this year that, speaking of breakfast cereals, Cheerios has a pumpkin spice Cheerio this year.
Yep, I saw that.
Oh God. I'm going to the store tonight.
One of my favorites, and I can't always find them, Milano cookies. Do you know what I'm talking about? The
They're like
Milano cookies?
Yeah, the oval look.
Yeah. They're like the fancy wafers with the chocolate in the middle. They also do a pumpkin spice one, and it's a regular Milano, but it has just like a layer of pumpkin spice on it as well. And they are so good. So good.
I love it. I love this flavor. It's perfect for this time of year. And if you don't like it, it only's here for this time of year. That's the,
Or if you don't like it, make your own new autumn flavor. Like
you think you're so good.
Ring.
Yeah. What do you got? You can beat the pumpkin?
Oh my goodness. Oh, I did want to mention before we wrap up here, just a reference to a classic SNL skit from a few years back. I don't know if you remember this, but they did like a Autumn's Eve pumpkin spice douche commercial.
Oh my God.
It's pretty good. So if you are someone that likes making fun of pumpkin spice, you should definitely Google that for a chuckle because it's a good one.
I think we should, before we wrap up, too, throw or just throw a bone to pumpkin spice non-edible things like pumpkin spice candles, which I've definitely gotten in my day.
I have one burning right now.
Do you really?
At this very moment. Yes, I do. Yes,
I got a really good one that my girlfriend did not like, but it was a very, very potent flavor. But it was a pumpkin candle that was made for the Halloween 40th anniversary a few years ago, the Halloween movie. And it was such a strong pumpkin flavor. But in this 40th anniversary candle, there was a limited edition collector's pin at the bottom of it. And
I love that shit. I love candles that have shit in them.
But I just couldn't wait to get the pin. So I just had that thing burning for like fucking 3 days, you know? The whole house just smelled like pumpkin. And then I got the pin. It was a cool pin, but I was out of candle. So
that's the balance of the universe right there, is what you just
gives
described.
And it takes, you know? And pumpkin is no exception.
No exception. Yeah. Pumpkin spice candles. I spend quite a bit of money on them every season. They're definitely a treat. What else? What are some other things? Non-edible pumpkin spice things.
You can get pumpkin spiced cleaning supplies.
That's wild. I have not experienced that yet.
I don't know. I thought it was wild too, but then I thought you want the scent in cleaning supplies so your kitchen smells like that scent, right? And I don't know. Maybe I want my kitchen to smell like pumpkin.
Yeah, no, I understand the logic. The lemon fresh scent, it says like, this is clean, right? I don't know that pumpkin says to me, this is I don't know.
Clean. I want my kitchen to say, this is pumpkin.
Well, then that's what the candle's for.
Yeah, it's true.
This is pumpkin.
What about my countertops? I want that to be pumpkin too. Not my toilet bowl. This is pumpkin.
I can't really think of anything else though that's non-edible.
I saw some out there pumpkin. This one is edible, questionable, but there's a pumpkin spice Spam. Oh. So if you're a Spam lover,
oh my god,
you can get that Spam mixture, that concoction with pumpkin spice now.
Oh my god, that does not sound good at all.
Yeah.
Oh, dang. So see, even a hardcore pumpkin lover,
we have our limits.
We have our limits, exactly. Like sometimes it just doesn't work. So I think that's all I have to say about the classic autumnal flavor that is pumpkin spice.
Yeah, you've spoken for half hour about pumpkin spice. I think that's more than a lot of people do.
Yeah. It's very true. It's very true. And
I hope we've given you some information. And people say, hey, pumpkin spice latte is back. You can go, hey, here's the whole history of it real quick.
Exactly. Yeah. So thank you for listening to this episode. This is a fun happy harvest element.
Yeah. But it's a balance. There's both in the fall season, spookies and comfort.
For real. And for me personally, that's why I adore this time of year so much. But I think that might be something for a lot of people. It's just such an interesting balance of feeling comfortable and cozy and also terrified, like how do we mix these two things together, like that seem so contradictory, but it just works and it's the best.
We're comfy, we feel safe being scared.
Exactly. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll catch you next time.
All right, see you then. Bye.